So with that said, we've got Josh Nelson here. He's Skyping in with us from Florida. And take it away, Josh.
Well, thank you, Chappelle. And thanks, guys, for giving me the opportunity to share our story a little bit and kind of share some insights on what we've done and how we've grown our business. Of course, the subject is about establishing your expert status through authorship. But I'll start by giving you a little idea of where we're at, where we've come from, and what our story is. Me and my business partner Dean started Click Incorporated, Plumber SEO, in 2011. And beginning of 2011, we literally had no clients, and we're starting from the ground up. Wanted to make sure we could build a business that was sustainable. And by the end of 2011, we had about $29,000 in recurring revenue from our local SEO services, local internet marketing services. And that was good. So we started to say, let's keep this going, let's keep growing. And end of 2012, just last year, we ended with about $69,000 in recurring. And as of today, we're at $92,000. And so we're on pace for over $1 million in annual recurring revenues by selling local internet marketing services in our area. And if you're familiar with Infusionsoft, or if you use Infusionsoft for your billing, you can see 69 active clients billing $92,000 per month in recurring revenues. And so it's real exciting, and that's why I wanted to share, a lot of the things that Mike's teaching as far as, picking a niche, becoming the expert is completely spot on. And if you implement it, you can really grow a successful business. And this is just our team. We operate out of a legitimate office. We've got a team of 8 full-time people that help us fulfill these services for our clients to make sure they get great results and are growing their business. So what was the process? We started out, you saw in the first year we grew to about $30,000 per month in recurring revenue, and that was mainly focused just on our local market. So doing the cold calling, doing the networking, joining BNI, joining the Chamber of Commerce, trying to ruffle the feathers and do the face-to-face sales so that we could get local customers, get them to pay us, and keep them paying us. Somewhere along the way, we stumbled across a vertical that we liked a lot, that we resonated with, and got some traction in. And we decided within that vertical, which happens to be plumbing and HVAC, we were going to go ahead and establish ourselves as the experts and do anything we could to be the experts and stamp our place as the guys to go to when you needed internet marketing services in that niche. And that's when we really started to see some velocity and some growth within the company. And so Mike is a big-time preacher of the power of a vertical and really choosing a vertical. And what we found was just about every customer started out by asking, have you worked with other companies like mine? And so when we went and we met with a dentist, they wanted to hear about other dentists and they wanted to see other dental websites. And if we met with the chiropractor, they wanted to hear about other chiropractors that we worked with and see other chiropractic websites and see how those chiropractors were getting ranked, seeing where they were ranking on the search engines. And so when you choose a vertical and you become the expert in that vertical, well, you have the ability to establish case studies and to develop client advocates so that you can establish yourself and really get that expert status in your type of business. So when you do meet with that roofer or with that AC contractor, you can say, absolutely, here are the websites that we've worked on, here's where they rank, and if you're interested, you can even talk with them and they'll vouch for me. And so you become extremely attractive to your vertical, to your niche, because you can speak their language. The sales resistance becomes significantly lower. You can charge exponentially more because people will pay more for expertise and for knowing that you've got a proven track record in their industry. And you also have the opportunity to go national as opposed to just servicing a local demographic. And so how can you...
Josh, when you say that you can...
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, when you say that you tell them they can talk to your past clients, is that something that you've talked to your past clients about and they've agreed to do, or how do you work that?
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to providing great service and building strong relationships so that that client actually gets results, right? And that client can speak to you and say, and be willing to vouch for you. And so, yeah, you want to have that conversation with the customer. You got to drive results for them before you start making those types of proclamations. But once you do, they've got your back. They're willing to talk to anybody, and they're probably your best resource when it comes to actually selling the next customer and the next customer within that vertical.
And so we've got a kind of a follow-up question here from Deneen. The plumbers don't mind that you're working with their competition?
They don't. So that's what I say. You have the power to go vertical, and we don't focus locally. We focus on a national basis. So, okay. I mean, we're talking about a plumber in Miami talking to a plumber in Tampa or a plumber in Los Angeles.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks for clarifying.
Mm-hmm. So how can you really establish expert status? You know, once you pick your vertical and you've got that expertise in that vertical, you can really go deep with it. You don't have to just be high level. You can go really deep and establish yourself in that vertical. And so obviously the first thing you can do is start to create some vertical specific content. So if you're a part of this group, which you are, and you probably buy all the WSOs and you read all of the books on internet marketing and SEO, well, all of that information is generic. It's about how to leverage social media, and it's about how to get ranked on the search engines, and it's about how to do all of these different things. Well, your responsibility when you choose a vertical now is to translate all of that information, all of that knowledge to the vertical. So now you're writing to that specific niche. You could say, so this is how you optimize your website as a dental practice. This is how you leverage social media as a dental practice. This is how you get more patients. Definitely want to set up a white paper of some sort specific to that vertical so that you can have it online, you can have it as a place to collect leads and email market. So, I mean, there's all kinds of tools out there that will help you do this, from Infusionsoft to Instant Customer to who knows what. But by putting that white paper in place and writing it for your vertical, that vertical now is interested because you're speaking their language, and you have ability to develop a client base or a lead base through that type of content. Going deeper to establish your expert status is you can join the industry associations and get involved. So in every vertical, whether it's dentistry, chiropractic, roofing, plumbing, you name it, there are industry association groups that meet both at a local level and a national level. So that's a great place to join the group, be able to put their badge on your website, say that you're a member, and then get involved in their events. They all have national events and local events. So, initially what you want to do is you want to exhibit, right? Buy a booth, sponsor their meetings, speak at the events if you can, and that's really where you can start to go to the next level and really establish your expert status by speaking in front of these groups at a high level, conduct trainings and webinars. And the ultimate strategy, of course, now is to be able to call yourself the authority. And you think about it, who's the authority? The authority is the author, the one that can say, we wrote the book on internet marketing in this space. And so if you're the person that comes up with that content, no one's going to question your expert status. And so, why would you want to write a book, the complete guide to whatever for your vertical? Well, it gives you instant expert status, major differentiation. So if you think about it, somebody's trying to choose who they're going to use to help market themselves online, and they have the opportunity to choose the local guy that just says, hey, I'm an internet guy, or they can choose the person that wrote the book on the topic, is active in the association, is at all of the events. So it gives you a major differentiator to be able to say, yeah, we wrote the book. It gives you the opportunity to get even more speaking opportunities. So I talked about getting involved in the industry associations. It's one thing to call these groups and say, hey, I'd like to speak. I'm an expert on internet marketing, and I can do a session on search engine optimization or Google Maps optimization. But when you can send them a copy of the book and say, hey, I'm the author of the Internet Marketing Guide for Dentists, and I'd love to come out and speak at your upcoming dental group, they're much more apt to say, okay, we're going to bring in the author of this book to come speak and market that and promote it and get their members engaged. And it makes you magnetically attractive to your niche. The more they feel like you're the expert, you're the go-to guy, the less you have to work at getting that business, getting the leads, closing the sales once you have the opportunities. And of course, you can charge more, right? You can charge a lot more because you're the expert, have a lot less sales resistance, and you can, again, go after that national audience as opposed to the local audience. We move now to the point where only a small percentage of our clients are here in South Florida where we're based. The majority of them are scattered throughout the United States and internationally because as the expert, people don't care if they can meet with you face-to-face. They don't expect to be able to meet with you face-to-face. You can conduct your conversations over the phone. You can do your sales presentations over the phone. And you can close business without having to drive all over the place and have face-to-face meetings. So what are your options for publishing? Right? You can get published by a major publishing house, which would mean one of these major publishers says, hey, we're going to pay you to write a book, and probably fat chance doing that if you're not famous, you don't have some major clout behind yourself. So I wouldn't spend a lot of time on that strategy. You can self-publish, so in other words, put together a Word document or a publisher document and just have all your books printed yourself. Or you can pay a book development service like Advantage Media Group. The guys, if you're involved in GKIC, Advantage Media Group is the one that lets you talk your book. They'll interview you and help pull the content out of your mind. So those are some options. Cost-wise, you might say, how much is this going to cost? Am I going to have to make a major investment in order to get a book published? If you go to Advantage Group, and I think it's going to cost you between $10,000 and $15,000 for their services, and then of course you need to purchase the books up front, and it can be costly. I mean, not that there's not a good reason to do that or to consider that option, but as far as I'm concerned, what if you could get it done and it didn't cost you a dime up front? I think that would probably be the best route, and of course that's the route we wanted to take. And we were fortunate to come across Amazon CreateSpace. And Amazon CreateSpace is a book publishing service by Amazon that lets you write your book. You basically upload your content, so you can write whatever you're going to write in Microsoft Word, save it to a PDF document, create some images, and upload them. And you only have to pay on demand as your books are purchased. You get a free ISBN number. You can say your book's available on Amazon.com. I think for a marginal investment, they'll also be able to say that it's on Barnes & Noble and a couple of other places. And so the beauty of this is, I mean, you don't have to pay to order 10,000 books. You don't have to pay a publishing house to help you get this created. You create the content, you upload it to CreateSpace, and you pay as your books are ordered. So you set a price. Somebody can go directly to Amazon and see your book there. And as somebody orders, if they ever did order from Amazon.com, they would take their cut, and then you get a royalty check. But you also have the opportunity to buy these books in bulk at a cost of between $2 and $3 per book. I think ours, since it's 100 pages, is about $2.55. So, I mean, it's almost the price that you would pay to have a nice brochure put together, and instead you have a real book that is tangible, that you can hand to somebody. And, of course, on Amazon CreateSpace, there's no minimum. So you're not, again, you're not buying 1,000 at once.
Hey, Josh, is this also available as a Kindle or an ebook?
Yes, I mean, it's just basically one additional click, and now it's available on Kindle or their ebook section of the site.
And it wasn't too difficult to transfer over from your hard copy to when they had that?
Not at all. I mean, literally, we took a Word document, and I'll talk about this a little bit more as we go, but we took a Word document that was all of our text. We added some images to it in Publisher. We saved it as a PDF, and so you upload two PDFs. One is your cover image and your back image, and the other is your actual content that are the pages of your book.
That's awesome.
And
Sorry,
so,
I don't want to jump ahead for you. I'll let you go.
No, absolutely. And so your book shows up just like this on Amazon.com. Somebody can go and see your book. You can have reviews there. They can buy it directly on Amazon.com, and Amazon fulfills the entire thing. So it gives you a nice credibility boost without having to do too much. And of course, now that you've got the book, you need to promote it, and you can promote it everywhere, right? So on our site, we wrote the book on Internet Marketing for Plumbing Contractors, available on Amazon.com, and just gives you that extra layer of credibility. So how do you come up with it, right? How do you come up with the content? How do you come up with all of the stuff that you need to have a book? Well, start by realizing you have the knowledge in your head. If you're as active as you probably are, you're a member of this group, you're listening to all the great things that Mike is teaching, you probably have read a number of books on internet marketing and audios and all of these training programs you've invested in. You have the knowledge, right? And all you have to do is translate it to your vertical. So don't try and take a shortcut. Certainly don't try and copy and paste something from somebody else. Take your spin, take your unique spin on all the important things that you can do for a business and put it into a book. Start with a chapter outline, so you don't jump headstrong forward. Think about, okay, what are the chapters we need to have in order to make this a relevant book, right? So chapter 1 might be what your internet marketing strategy is in this space. Chapter 2 is how to set up your website. Chapter 3 is how to optimize for Google Maps. Chapter 4 is social media. You get the idea, and it'll be different on a vertical by vertical basis. But start with an outline, and then start writing or talking. And you don't have to use a service like the one I referenced before in order to talk your book. There are a number of transcription services available, like Casting Words is one that I use a lot. You can just talk for 15 minutes like you would to a customer about how to get ranked on the Google map. And then take that recording, upload it to castingwords.com, and they will send you back a typed up version of what you said. And it's much easier to go in and edit what you said than to try and write that from scratch in some case. Some people like to write, some people like to talk, some people like to be on video. So get what you're comfortable with and go for it. Then you can hire a graphics designer, you can do it yourself, create some basic graphics. Inside CreateSpace, it's extremely self-explanatory. So I don't need to give you a tutorial on how to do it. When you go to CreateSpace and you set up your account, it says this is the size of your cover. These are the size of your your pages, and it will walk you through the process. But ultimately, you have a cover, a back, and the content for your site. So just some real best practices on this. Don't overthink it. It's very easy to sit down and say, okay, I'm going to write a book, and then, oh, well, it needs to be the best book ever written, and I've got to spend the next 9 months or a year writing this thing, and you really don't need to do that. The way we went into it was, don't expect a heck of a lot of people to read it. This isn't going to be a Amazon bestseller, even though there are ways to make that happen, and I understand that. But you're not out to sell 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 copies of this book. You're out to create expert status and something that you can hand out. And even as you hand it out, we're finding some people do read it, but in a lot of cases, they don't read it. It's just a subliminal thing. They say, man, these guys are the authors. These guys are the experts. And set a deadline. The best thing you can do is say, okay, I'm going to have this thing done by this date. Because if you don't have that deadline, it'll just be a to-do that sits out there forever. And we gave ourselves, I think, 3 months to finish the book. And we did work on it little by little, but it came down to that last week or that last weekend where we just sat down, closed ourselves in the office, and finished up everything that needed to be done. So set the deadline, be as aggressive as you want to be. Don't overthink it, and that's where I could see a lot of people getting stuck. Listen, you want to create some good content that you've already got in your mind and get it on paper. And then be sure to have the whole thing proofread by a secondary person. So if you're doing this on your own and either you spoke it or you typed it all up, even if you think you've got pristine grammar, pristine spelling, and you ran it through spell check, you still need to have a secondary or third person look at it as well, just to catch those obvious errors that could make you look somewhat foolish. So what can you do now that you have your book? How can you leverage it? Well, you can give it to your prospects. If you're still doing face-to-face meetings, if you're doing networking, this is almost as cheap as your brochure. So have your books printed and start to hand them out to relevant prospects. You can send it out as part of your direct mail effort to your top prospects. And so if you've read Chet Holmes, talks about the Dream 100 initiative, send them something relevant on a consistent basis. We've had a lot of success picking the top companies in our space, sending them a copy of the book along with a DVD video, and just kind of priming them to call us and say, hey, I want to hire you guys to do this for me in my area. So you can definitely send this out as part of a direct mail initiative. You can send it to your top referral partners. So if you've got other people that are allied to your space, that could refer you into the people in your vertical, send it to them and ask them to hand it out, or ask it to give them, for them to give it to others. And then I talked about this earlier, you can leverage it to get speaking opportunities. Send a copy of the book out to the local association, the national association. Let them know that you can present on this topic and that you'd love to come out and speak for their next event. You know, you want to look at expert status. There are really two things that give you expert status: being the author and being the speaker. They see you at the front of the stage speaking, all of a sudden, unquestioned, you're the expert. Price becomes much less of an issue. And then give them as handouts at your booth at a trade show. So if you're at a trade show, no reason you can't have a stack of these printed and just hand them out to the people as they're walking through. You know they're in your space. You know they're interested in potentially doing business with you. The more of your books that you can get in people's hands, the better. And so that's really in a nutshell how I think you can position yourself through authorship to dominate any vertical and really position yourself as the expert. And so I hope I didn't go through that too fast, Chappelle, but I'm glad to answer questions. And
no, that was fantastic.
Okay.
We do have a few coming in here. I think just as far as the actual content of the book, and then we'll go back. I know people have some questions about establishing yourself as the expert when you might not have those references already. But the actual content of the book, what did you choose to include in your book, and what did you choose to leave out?
Yeah, I mean, I'm of the mindset that you can give the complete formula. So if you feel like you know how to get something done, don't feel like, oh, I'm just going to give them little pieces of this because they're going to do it on their own. The reality is you could give somebody a step-by-step blueprint that shows them exactly how to do every single thing that you do, and 90% of the population isn't going to do it, especially your top prospects, the people you actually want to deal with. They want to hire an expert. They want somebody that can do it for them. And so if you've mapped out some content that's really compelling, that goes into depth, well, then that just helps solidify in their mind that you're going to be the guy that can get it done. In our case, we
I would even go ahead.
Well, in our case, we just took what we felt a proactive strategy, internet marketing strategy for that vertical is, and that's what we did. We wrote all our chapters covering those topics.
I was going to say, I even think that it helps you when you include kind of an overshare on the information because it makes it look really difficult for them.
Yeah.
And it solidifies in their mind that they need somebody outside of their company to actually be doing this because there's no way that they could ever find enough time to run their business and do all the marketing. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. So the overshare, in regards to, somebody just asked it, I'm not sure, but as far as sharing your whole strategy, I mean, I think that's a really good approach to take specifically with publishing a book.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we've got some vertical questions here. Focusing on a vertical, do you eat and sleep that vertical? Your website, your elevator pitch, networking meetings, is that pretty much all that you're doing right now?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, yes. There was a time where we went out after everybody, right? It was just, whoever we could get, we would take. And then as we got more established in this vertical, we built a website around it, we built our messaging around it, and I've decided that there's enough growth opportunity in this space that we don't need to be going after 7 or 8 or 9 different verticals at the same time, because it's just a matter of focus, right? I mean, if you try to divert your focus from a vertical, the ability to really get leverage and growth is severely diminished.
Uh-huh. Do you have clients outside of the vertical, or do you just say no to those clients at this point?
Well, I mean, if we get referred to somebody outside our vertical, we do work with them in certain cases. So, we still have clients that are non-plumbing and HVAC, but all of our marketing efforts from a new client acquisition perspective are geared towards our core vertical.
Right. So how long is the book?
The book runs 98 pages. So it's not a huge book. It's relatively small. We chose to, if you can see the picture in the bottom right-hand corner, we chose to keep it not the textbook size, but the smaller version. But it's still thick enough that it feels like a real book.
Yeah, it's pretty meaty.
Yeah.
Do you include any sort of CTA at the end of your book, or a call to action?
Absolutely. Yeah, without question. So you definitely want to give them the opportunity to go to some place where they can download additional materials or get updated references. And obviously, listen, now that you've read this book, if you'd like to have somebody implement this on your behalf, we'd love to work with you. And you want to plant those seeds throughout your content. So every chapter should have a case study, which is one of your clients, with screenshots, and then a testimonial, which is subliminally telling them, wow, these guys really know what they're doing and they can make this happen for me. And so, the book, assuming somebody actually read it, should be like your perfect sales process.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so we've got some questions here on actually selecting the vertical. So what kind of went into your process in deciding that plumbers was the way you were going to go?
Right. Well, I mean, I think, and this is going to vary on a case-by-case basis, but you want to look at organizations that are spending money in marketing. So, the dentist, the lawyer, the home service company, the roofer, right? I mean, there are going to be verticals that are predispositioned for this type of thing that others aren't. But I think it really comes down to what resonates with you or what will make you resonate best with that audience. So I don't have a plumbing background, but for whatever reason, I can speak easily and have good conversations with that niche. Where I think if you've got some level of background in a space, like for instance, maybe you were an attorney or you have a family member that was an attorney, you're going to be more apt to speak that language and comfortably be able to resonate with that audience. So I think you want to look at the verticals that are going to have the ability to pay for your services, and depending upon whether you're on the high end or the low end, and then you want to make sure that you get a backstory that resonates with that audience to some degree.
Okay. That makes sense. And also, everybody in here is Summit Club members. So if you're interested in kind of understanding more about these verticals, it's certainly something that we very strongly believe in, and Josh is a great example of. In your training section, there's a course called Vertical Domination, and it's free for Summit Club members. So I would recommend anyone that's deciding about a vertical or deciding which way to go, check out that course and see what's in there. But coming back to kind of what you were saying in the beginning about people wanting to see references in the vertical that you're working with, how would you say that you would establish yourself as that expert before you might have those clients and those references to give?
Yeah, and so that goes back to the roots. So let's say if you're starting off and you don't have any clients and you don't know what vertical you're going to target, that's where you want to focus locally, right? Join the BNI, go to the Chamber of Commerce meetings, and start to figure out what audience you are going to resonate with. And get a couple of good clients and really go to bat for them. Get them results. Make them customer advocates. And from there, you can take one or two really good success stories and parlay that into where you can really be the expert in that space. And so that's how we started, right? We had a number of local companies, from dentists to chiropractors to roofers. We got some really great success within plumbing, and then we just kept pushing those same stories. And that's how we were able to grow, to where we are now.
Mm-hmm. And I have another good idea here. I can't remember who's saying it. I'm sorry, it's too far up in here. But they said, does it make sense to discount services to capture one or two new clients in a new niche you want to go vertical on? And I think that's a great idea. I mean, of course, you have to be careful about establishing when that changes. I know I saw some discussion in the group this last week from someone who had done the same kind of thing, and now the partner that they had discounted their services on, they were doing a lot of custom work for them, and they were wanting a share of referrals from other companies, and they were saying, hey, I'm already discounting my services for you, and this is really hard. So I would say if you're going to do that, and Josh, please speak to this as well, just make sure that you set the expectations up front of why you're doing this, how it's going to work in the long run, and just make sure you have that in writing so that the expectation is set right from the front.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not a big fan of doing anything for free. So I mean, I definitely wouldn't say, hey, I want to do this for free. But you can definitely do some type of discount on the front end for those first 2 or 3 clients, setting the expectation, I want to make you my case study in this vertical. I want to be able to use you as a client reference. And then, yeah, be careful that they don't now think that they own piece of your business or something.
And And we got a question here from Martin that says, how do you find out which verticals are spending money?
I'm sure Summit Club has a lot of content on this. The way I did it, being that I focus mostly on SEO, local internet marketing, and I know some of you guys do more reputation management. But for me, I wanted to see who was spending a lot of money in the Yellow Pages back in the day. So if they were spending a lot of money in the Yellow Pages, they had a half page or a full page ad, and there was probably a pretty thick section in the Yellow Pages for that vertical. And so, if they have a budget of between $1,000 and $3,000 and $5,000 per month that they were spending on Yellow Pages, well, then the probability is they're comfortable spending that kind of money marketing their business. And so those were the verticals that I looked at. And of course, I was looking at dentistry and chiropractic, any type of attorney, auto repair shops. I mean, these are all really good verticals that have a lot of opportunity to spend the money. There's lots of them, so you don't want to get into a niche where there's only a couple thousand of these types of businesses, because then you become the expert in something that isn't all of that relevant.
Yeah, and that's spot on. Exactly what I was going to say as well. One thing that Mike preaches a lot around here is the best way to find businesses that you want to work with is to go out and see who's already doing it. So the chances are that they're not doing it as well as you could, and it proves that you don't have to sell them on marketing. We shouldn't be spending any time on selling people on marketing and sales and the benefits of it. What we should be doing is selling them on our services. So I think what Josh just said is spot on. The Yellow Pages, one thing that we do to find prospects is we go to the daily deal sites and see who's advertising there, because those people get it. They understand the value in it, and they're not going to run around in circles. You don't have to teach them all about it. They're out there doing it already. So I definitely agree. Go look for the people that are already doing it and go after those verticals.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We've got one here from Martin. Does the SEO part of Plumber SEO throw off the suspects, or are you offering only SEO services?
We don't offer only SEO services. It doesn't, what we found was there was a search volume associated with that. And so we sell them a comprehensive turnkey solution. So we're selling internet marketing, search engine optimization, social media management, and the whole 9 yards for a monthly ongoing fee.
Okay, great. All right, 1 sec here. Let's just look through a few more of these. Sorry, 1 second. My question screen closed down.
Oh, that's okay.
All right, so a few more questions on the Kindle book here. Actually, are you finding that people are taking you up on that? Is that something that you're able to email around now? Or are you still pretty much using the hard copies as the lead generation?
I use the hard copy as lead generation. I didn't go the Kindle ebook route. We do have a free guide that we make available on our website so that we can email market to them after they download the guide. But the book itself is mainly for positioning and for expert status. We send it out. We give it at booths. And we didn't think anyone would ever buy it on Amazon.com, but we have had a couple hundred copies of the book sell, which was a surprise to us. And we've gotten a couple clients that actually signed up with us after buying the book and without any other exposure to our organization.
Right. How was the experience working with CreateSpace? Was it pretty easy? Did they facilitate the transaction between Amazon and CreateSpace pretty well, or how did that work?
It was pretty easy. Yeah, it was very simple. I mean, you create the account, they set up your ISBN number, you upload your files, you have tech support available. When you have questions, they have various promotional options to help you promote it further. But yeah, very, very simple.
Okay. We do have, I think Michael's coming in and saying that the JoshNelsonLMC.com isn't working. Let me just check.
Yeah, that's an I, so it's Josh Nelson IMC as in Internet Marketing Consultant.
IMC. Got it. Okay, great. And I did type in that CreateSpace link into the chat box for everyone as well that's interested in it. there's a number of self-publishers out there, and Amazon pretty much works with all of them. I just happen to have a background in the publishing industry. But there are a number of options out there that do different rev shares. So if you check out CreateSpace, I certainly think they're great if you're looking at Amazon in particular, because they're owned by Amazon, so they obviously facilitate that really well. But I know that they take a little bit of a higher cut than some of the other sites. So just make sure that you're checking out your options when you're looking at who you want to get it published by. And we've got one here that says, you mentioned you use the hard copy as a direct mail piece. And when you and I were talking, you had mentioned that you send that with a DVD. Mm-hmm. Can you kind of tell us about what that direct mail package is?
Yeah, so this is kind of our Dream 100 initiative. So we don't do it for everybody. In plumbing, we focus on the guys that are doing $1 million to $10 million per year in revenue. We tend to go after one major market at a time, so a major city, and then we send them a package in a manila envelope with a Sharpie pen handwritten on the outside with their name, address, so we know they're going to open it, and inside is a letter, a copy of our book, and a DVD. And that DVD is just a video message for me saying, I'm looking to work with somebody in their area. I wrote the book on internet marketing for this space, and then I show them examples and case studies of the clients we've worked with, and then I tell them we're only going to be working with one of the 10 people we sent this to, so it's a first come, first serve opportunity, and that's worked very well for us in terms of generating opportunity outside of our other lead channels.
Great. So we got a question here. When you need to print more copies, is it easy? How long does it take to get the books?
It is easy. So you log back into your Amazon CreateSpace account. You can have multiple books in there, but you choose your book and you order your quantity. So we typically order 500 at a time, and it takes somewhere between 2 to 3 weeks. So it's not overnight, but it is easy.
Do you mind sharing what the rev split is with CreateSpace or Amazon on the books?
I would have to even look at that. We've never really paid much attention. I think we sell it for $14.99, and I think we make $6. So I would have to look at it, but I'm pretty sure it's in that range. Okay. It's not enough to be worth paying much attention to. It doesn't. I mean, the book doesn't sell a heck of a lot of copies. That's not what we're after with the book.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, that's not the main goal of the book. It's the way that you're using it that's important. And I think that's a really good lesson. I remember in my old company, I was a toy company that actually self-published books, which is my background in the publishing industry. And it got on Oprah, and we thought that the phones were just going to be ringing off the hook. And, we got some calls, and it was good, but really what was important was the way that we used that promotion after the fact, putting it on the front of the box, and really the way that you use it, not necessarily just having it on there.
Right.
So, all right. So we got a question here. Do you recommend changing your company name to better fit the vertical you are targeting? So I see that you've done that with Plumber SEO. Is that something you found beneficial?
I mean, do it on a case-by-case basis. It's worked well for us just because when you're going to that market and you're telling them we focus exclusively on businesses like yours, you've got it in your name. It really just makes it real easy. I don't see any reason you couldn't keep your main name and say, hey, look, this company focuses on that. But having it in our name has worked well for us.
Yeah, I'm sure it doesn't hurt.
Yeah. And we still have our parent company, which is Click Incorporated, which is our catch-all. We do local internet marketing for everybody business.
Gotcha. Okay. So we noticed on the Amazon page that it said Volume 1. Are you considering doing a sequel? And I think that kind of a more broad question is, you published this a number of years ago, if I'm correct, and so what kind of maintenance have you had to have in the process?
I read somewhere you should always write Volume 1 so you have the opportunity to do Volume 2, 3, 4, etc. And the internet marketing space is such a moving target that what you write today becomes less relevant almost immediately. We published it at the very end of 2011, so it's about a little over a year and a half old. And there's been no maintenance, so the book is out there. Copies sell on a consistent basis online, but again, it's a positioning thing for us more than anything else.
So you mentioned at one point that you're doing that package for the $1 to $10 million companies. How are you finding out that information on who you want to target?
There's a lot of tools out there. The tool we use is called salesgenie.com. It's my info space. We pay $150 a month to have unlimited access to their database. And then from there, you can type in any company, city, run reports on businesses in a specific city based on revenues, employees, and various things. And so that's where we look on yp.com or one of the other online sources, and then bounce that against Info USA or Sales Genie, so that we can see that they have enough revenue to justify investing our time.
Can you type the name of that into the chat box? I'm sure people will want to use that resource.
Salesgenie.com, I believe. So if you want to click on that and tell me, I sent it in questions. Is that the right space?
Oh, I'll copy it over. No worries. That'll be just fine. All right. So I'm not sure what this one means. It might be from your website, from Carl. He's saying, how are your stealth webinars working for you?
Very well. So that's another strategy that we've implemented very heavily. As people download our guide, the next thing we want them to do is to get on a webinar where they can be educated about internet marketing for their business, and it's always for this specific targeted vertical, and then ends with a strong call to action to hire us if they need help to move this to the next level. And so Stealth Seminars gives you the opportunity to record it once and then have it be an automated webinar that plays either once a week or every day at a certain time. And so our inside sales team is calling these people and inviting them to that webinar.
Are you using Smarter Webinar for that, or are you doing this yourself?
Smarter Webinar might be a great, I don't know, I haven't done a lot of research on it, so that might be a great way to do it. I'm doing it through an outside service.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, Smarter Webinar is ours, so that's the only reason.
Yeah, I know. I just realized that. Yep.
Yeah, no worries. But if you guys are interested in that, definitely check it out. It's Smarter Webinar. There's a link to it within your training section. All right. We got another question here from Elad. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Can you publish a basic 30 to 40 page book and release newer, more elaborate editions later to shorten the process?
I'm not sure. That would be a great thing if you're interested to go to CreateSpace, kind of browse around, and they will give you your parameters. I think that you can, but I'm not 100% sure.
And just having worked in that a little bit, one of the problems that I see with that is that generally Amazon tries to be very careful about their reviews. So if you're coming out with new editions and new versions, you can oftentimes lose those reviews that you had. So I think it's definitely something you want to check into. Josh has 2 great reviews on his book, and people certainly look at those. I know I do, and they're huge, not only in as far as people buying your book, but they're also huge within Amazon's ranking of your book. So be sure you're checking that out. If you're coming out with new editions, oftentimes it means you lose reviews. So just make sure you're conscious of that. All right. Let's see what else we got here. So at what point in the sales process, when you're talking to a new company, do you break out the fact that you're the author of this? Is it right up front, or do you try and be careful so that you're not too boastful with it? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, definitely not a boastful thing. I don't think I had ever, in a live conversation, say, hey, well, we wrote the book on internet marketing for plumbing. It's on the website. It's peppered in our marketing materials. Everything we do has a follow-up email sequence associated with it. So they're exposed to the fact, but I'm not overtly saying it. If somebody calls in and we have a good sales conversation and they're a qualified lead, then they get a pack that goes in the mail that includes a copy of the book, testimonials, a folder with an explanation of the program, a DVD explaining what we do. So they'll get that in their hands. It's just another way to push an interested party to that, wow, okay, these are the right guys, place.
Okay, great. That makes sense. All right, well, we're getting close here to our hour, so if anybody has any last questions, be sure and get them in so we can get them answered. But I think I'm just kind of curious. So you've mentioned speaking a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that you seek out, or are those coming to you now because of the book, and then you're using the book within the speaking agreements, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I love speaking. I feel like it's a great way to get in front of an audience. We tend to get sales after every speaking engagement. I don't think there's ever a point, well, this might be false, but in the guise of where I'm at, there's never going to be a time where somebody says, hey, we'd like to have you come speak. I aggressively seek speaking opportunities. And so I contact the local chapters of the Plumbing Association. I contact the national chapters. I contact the subgroups within and let them know I can come in and educate their members on something that they need, which is how to better market themselves online. And I started off with just the local city, state chapters. And this year in July, I'll be speaking at the national convention for the Plumbing Association, which takes me from speaking in front of 20 people to speaking in front of several hundred people. So that's the ultimate goal is the bigger the audience, the more credibility and the bigger the sales opportunity.
That's fantastic. And another great point about choosing a vertical, in that I've heard a lot of comments on people having trouble getting into their local chamber of commerce. And it's so general, and there's so many people out there doing it, that when you choose the vertical, I think you're in a much better position to say, look, I only focus on this, and they're much more likely to take you over the general local marketer. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. No question. And you know what? We get that a lot, in that we were looking at a couple different people, and it just seemed like you understand our business. This is what you do. You specialize in our type of company, and that's why we decided to go your direction.
All right, so a question here from Richard, and Michael says, thanks for sharing, Josh. Great insights and very timely for me. So some good feedback there. Thanks, Michael, and I'm hoping that you guys got a lot of good stuff out of this. But back here to Richard, do you use any virtual assistants to help manage the prospecting process? And do you have any recommendations for best methods or sources for finding the right VAs?
This is something that your Summit Club is probably better equipped to help you with. My experience with VAs hasn't been all of that great, so I have an in-house team. I do have a full-time marketing administrator who his sole responsibility is to manage this process, so to research the companies, get the kits together, get them in the mail. I'm sure that there's a way to leverage VAs, nationally or internationally at a higher level. I toyed with a little bit and just felt like I liked the control of having it in my office here.
That makes sense. We do, in the Local Income Lab office, we do use VAs and a couple of different sources there, so I'm happy to share those with anybody that's interested. We use Ruby receptionists for our incoming calls, and then we have a couple prospecting guys outsourced as well, so I can get the names of those for you from Caroline, who's the head of our operations, and spread those around as well. But Josh is right. You guys are all familiar with the group, and that's a great place to ask questions. And I will tell you guys, I probably shouldn't put this up just yet, but it does look like we're going to make a private Summit Club group. So that should be another good resource for you guys to go to as well. And yep, I'll get those over to you, Richard. All right, well, Josh, any closing thoughts here for us?
No, I mean, I just feel like, if you're on the fence, you're trying to grow your business, start to get active, pick up your handful of clients in the vertical you think you want to go after, and then just be aggressive. Position yourself as the expert. Don't wait for somebody to tell you you're the expert. Assume that role. Create the content. Do the speaking. Create videos. Create articles. And expert status is already yours.
That's great. And one thing that you said in your initial interview with me that has really stuck with me is there's riches and then itches.
Oh, yeah.
And I just think that's such a great takeaway here. Really focus in, find out where your money's coming in, and go after it and become the expert in it. So some really great information. Thank you so much, Josh. We really appreciate you coming on today.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Well, I hope you got value from the presentation. I hope you're able to take these ideas, strategies, and start to position yourself as an expert in your niche and grow your local internet marketing agency to whatever target you set as your goal. If you'd like more ideas, strategies, techniques on how you can really implement this in the real world and get past the humps that you might be imagining in your mind, I have developed a report that you can download completely free of charge. just go to joshnelsonimc.com/niche. That's Josh Nelson IMC as an internet marketing consultant /niche. And you can download the guide completely free of charge there. Thanks for your time. I look forward to talking with you soon.